guys, welcome back to Sarah Talks, where I talk about random ass shit while playing Minecraft. Hopefully sound isn't too loud. I know my voice was like a little bit quiet last time from when I was playing, and I think that was just my mic, honestly. I'm still trying to figure out the audio side of things when it comes to streaming and recording. But today I decided to talk about mental health, because that's something that I'm struggling with. Like, not really, I don't know. I guess still kind of to this day, but especially now, like with burnout and stuff, that's something that I'm dealing with on the streaming side of things and the school side of things. So I'm gonna be talking about my previous experiences of my mental health journey, I guess you could say, and how it is now. You know, certain things that I struggle with. That's a pillager tower over there. I might check that out later. Maybe not this episode, because this episode I'm working on my house while I'm talking. That's the Minecraft side of things. Anyways, so I guess my journey kind of starts back to, like, when I was little, like, you know, maybe when I first started school. So when I was a baby, I lost my dad when I was, well, a baby. I was like 1, I think, maybe like a couple months from after turning a year old. And you know, that can affect a mom and her child a lot, especially with the mom trying to grieve while still caring for child. And then on my side of things, I had a lot of fear of losing my mom and, you know, going through that again. Because, you know, despite losing him as a baby, you know, you still know that you are grieving the fact that you don't have your biological dad there, and that you're, you know, not gonna have like a normal, I don't know how to say it, like, because obviously, you know, especially like now you see that there's same-sex couples, so it's not necessarily that I didn't have a dad. It's just, you know, you usually have 2 parents there, and for the first couple years of my life, it was just me and my mom. And eventually she met my stepdad, who I'm not really gonna comment about on here, but let's just say that I don't really see him as a dad. But anyways, I kind of have a funny story about that. So when I was like around 6, I think, I had a pet fish that I got for my birthday, I think, or it was at Christmas, I don't know, I forget. His name was Tim. And you know, fishes don't really like live that long, especially in the hands of kids. So I guess the first time my fish died, my family, they just replaced him with a new betta fish who looked exactly like him. So, you know, that repeated a couple times, and then I had, you know, I figured out later on while I was talking about that fish, because I thought, wow, he really lived a long time, only to find out that Tim was actually like 3 or 4 other fish
Who are you people?
who was replacing my Tim that died the first time. Because they were afraid that I was gonna, like, you know, like, as a grieving child, that I would, like, be very upset about it. So they just kept replacing him because they thought that was a good thing to do, which kind of was, honestly. Like, Honestly, now I just think it's funny. The fact that that Tim is actually just like 3 fish.
Steven and the Stevens, we're gonna make you smile. Me, myself, and I and him are all the same guy.
Yeah. That was one of my experiences. But you know, when I first started going to school, I was a very shy kid, which, you know, later on I figured out was not just, you know, shyness, it's just a bunch of anxiety that I had as a child. And later on, I found out it could possibly be signs of something else that I might be undiagnosed with, but we'll talk about that because I'm not diagnosed yet. I'm actually gonna get assessed for it in November sometime, I think. So we'll see about that. But yeah, that anxiety was actually a lot. Like I had a hard time asking for help. I couldn't talk to other kids really, and when I did, it was just like maybe a 1-word answer, like something small where none of the kids could really connect to me because I kept to myself. And especially as I got older, like in middle school. Middle school was a hard time because a lot of kids were like noticing that I was kind of weird, like different from the others, where I didn't really understand social cues very well. And it was really hard to make friends, so I usually kept to myself because nobody really wanted to be my friend. If they did, I guess that maybe they couldn't approach me. So that was definitely a rough time, and that was definitely when my depression really started hitting. It was really noticeable to where my room started getting really messy because I couldn't gather any energy to clean it anymore. I started like having negative thoughts about other people and negative thoughts about myself a lot. And that led to a lot of suicidal ideation, which is something that I learned recently is different from having suicidal thoughts. You know, I still deal with that to this day. But yeah, back to depression. Those go hand in hand though, anxiety and depression, where you get very mentally exhausted being out with people, but if you stay inside your room all day, you then feel the negative effects of depression, because then you're in your room with your own thoughts the entire day, and that shit sucks. But yeah, as I was mentioning earlier, I realized later on that my anxiety could be something different, which is actually I think I might have ADHD. But I also learned from my therapist that you could still see the same signs of anxiety that you could see in ADHD and stuff, so you know those things are kind of really similar. But I kind of have like the thing where I can't really focus very well, where I have a hard time like reading, and like I have a hard time, like, you know how when you like have an assignment for reading, and it's like they ask you like what you learned from your reading, and you know you're supposed to have an answer for that. But for me, I read the chapter They asked me that, and it's like I didn't read, and I didn't retain anything from it, which fucking sucked. Because it's like, I did all that reading for what? But then there's like more like to it where I fidget a lot, things like that. But that's what I'm getting assessed for. There's more like signs that I have. It's just I can't really think of it at the top of my head. Like I literally have it's that's how you know I'm like, I have so much anxiety. I have like a notes thing in my phone that has all the signs that I relate to with ADHD, and it's like a long ass list. Here, I can find it. Let's see, let me name a few. Starting projects, never finishing. I struggle with eye contact. Not good with social cues. I was thought of as a weird kid because I would randomly like jump around or like do weird things that other kids really wouldn't do while like standing in lines and stuff. I have sensitive ears. Like I could barely handle like the sounds of fireworks or like just really loud things like those hand dryers in bathrooms and stuff. I mirror people sometimes, where, you know, if somebody is like standing a certain way, I'll like end up copying them because to me, I like overthink every certain little thing that I do, such as like even the way I stand, the way I sit, if I'm like giving too much eye contact or too little, the way my face looks, stuff like that. Sometimes it's like really like extra hard to talk to where like I want to talk or like say something, like if somebody drops something, I'll want to say like, hey, you dropped this, but then I just like can't, and I just end up staying silent. I have horrible organization, especially now. Like as a kid, I would have a hard time, like, you know how we would have like our own individual like desk spaces, like inside the desk, like there would be just like a shelf. I would just like shove papers in there, and it was just so like unorganized, and that's like literally how I still am to this day. I procrastinate a lot, and I'm very forgetful, like if I'm doing two things at once, such as like if I want to go refill my water bottle, but then I realized I want to go get a snack too. I'll get the snack and then I'll forget my water bottle, and I'll have to go back for the water bottle. And but yeah, those are some of the things. I thought maybe if some people relate, maybe it'll help them. But yeah, that's like my new breakthrough, I guess, about myself. Yeah. I feel like a lot of it, like all my like anxiety and stuff comes from not being able to get help until like now, at the age of 21, when I really needed it at a younger age. Like just looking back now, it's like no kid should actually like be that anxious like all the time, you know? And that's how I was, and I never got help for it because whenever therapy was brought up by my parents or something, I'd like absolutely refuse because of the thought of talking to somebody. I love how I'm just like calmly talking while I have these fucking zombies chasing me everywhere. Especially this fucking little annoying ass fucking baby zombie. It's pissing me off. Alright, one second. Okay. I could deal with this one. What was I saying? Oh! Okay. What was I saying? Oh yeah, therapy. Yeah, I wasn't able to get it till I was 21, which is insane. there's just like a lot that I could have done if I would have gotten the help that I needed. Like I used to play soccer, and I did that from the age of 4 till maybe the age of like 15. I started getting like on and off about soccer. And it was because I played goalie, which is like, a very important position, especially because you're like the last line of defense, and that's it. If you miss, you're done for, and you tend to get blamed for, messing up. And that's how it started becoming as I grew up. When soccer would get more and more competitive, it felt more and more like I needed to blame myself for my mistakes. So I started crying a lot more when we would lose a game whenever I played goalie. And it got to the point to where in high school when I tried out for like the soccer team, first thing that happened was a girl kicked the ball at my face and I went down. So I quit the soccer. I didn't get on the soccer team, but I quit tryouts. I quit like regular soccer and AYSO. If you don't know what that is, it's like a youth sports organization for soccer. Yeah, I basically quit everything that had to do with soccer, and I refused to talk about it because I just couldn't anymore. The pressure got too much. And if I had the help I needed, maybe I could have gotten on the soccer team. I could have made more friends. Because after all that, I kind of just went back in my own little shell, and I really didn't like talking to people. And basically became an emo. Listened to a lot of emo music, My Chemical Romance, Linkin Park, you name it. The hair over one eye, shit like that. It's so embarrassing to think of now, but I started having a harder time with the school presentations where you have to like present in front of the whole class like a slideshow. Those I would start to have a more shaky voice. I would literally like tremble whenever I talked. It was like I was like gasping for air when I would present stuff because I was like hyperventilating. Never really cried in front of like the whole class except for like one time when I had a TED talk about, ironically, the having a hard time presenting stuff. That was the one time I cried, but there was another time I had it wasn't in front of the class, but it was like in Spanish class when we had to like, I don't know how to explain it. The teacher like says a sentence in Spanish and you have to like translate it, or you have to like answer the question in Spanish, and it was like I couldn't like even hear her voice. I was like so anxious about it. Like I would have to be like, I'm sorry, what'd you say? I'm sorry, what? And I think she realized I was like having some sort of, I don't know what you would call it. Like I don't know if it was like a panic attack or if it was like a meltdown or like whatever. I don't know. But breakdown, sorry, not meltdown. But she had me walk around the school for a bit and then come back to try again when I was more calm. And that actually like really helped out, and she was like the only teacher who really helped me with my anxiety, really. All the other teachers didn't really pay attention to it because they were too busy dealing with the other kids. Yeah, high school I think was like when it got really bad to where I started not sleeping at night. I had a lot of issues with my body. to the point where I would like start skipping meals and stuff. Yeah, it was just stuff like that. I was still kind of isolated, really. Like, in the terms of like friends and stuff, I had like a small group, but I didn't really trust them that much. They could never really get close to me. Like, I literally remember one of the girls, they were like, I don't really know a lot about you. And I realized that, yeah, I mostly just listened to them. I never really opened up. Most of my friends were online, which is still the case to this day. It's like all my friends are online, which isn't like a bad thing. It's just, you know, the only way I could make friends is online because I was too nervous to function as a normal person would, quote unquote, normal person. Yeah, oh yeah, I don't know why I didn't even think about it. I to this day can't drive because, well, at first I was forced to like learn to drive, but there was one time where I was practicing driving and my mom decided that I should go on a big main street, which had like 4 lanes. And there was like a stoplight and like all that junk. And when I was like the first person at the stoplight, and I guess it was because I didn't immediately go once the light turned green, somebody honked at me, which caused me to like spiral, and like I was like panicking and I was crying and I was like, I could barely see the road because I was crying, so I had to pull over at near a Starbucks. And I was like trembling, and because I felt like I was gonna mess up and crash. And then to that day, I always was like anxious about driving because I was afraid of messing up and like hurting somebody for messing up or like getting into a crash. So from that day on, I never really went back to driving. And I don't really want to. I just feel like it's just not for me. And I feel like that should be like more normalized. Because there are like different options now where you could like take an Uber or like go on a bus. I just don't see why driving has to be like pressured on us. Like, you have to do it if you don't want, like, you shouldn't have to if you don't want to. Especially if there's alternatives to it. You're not gonna immediately need to depend on somebody just because you can't drive. And yeah, that was why I was pressured into doing it, was because they didn't want me to become somebody who's like dependent on other people just because I can't drive. And that kind of made me feel like a burden, honestly. That was a big thing, too. That I always felt like a burden to everybody. Because, I don't know, there was things the parents would say where it was like, you're lazy, you know, because I was like so, mentally exhausted from school and just my own mental state that I couldn't clean, I couldn't do my chores really. So I was called lazy, I was called a squatter, all this sort of like asshole things that shouldn't be said to a kid. Because, you know, that could easily like knock down a kid's self-esteem. Like, you shouldn't humiliate them like that, you should help them. And that was like literally me, that I just never got any help, really. No help from my parents, no help from like a psychologist, nothing. It was just kind of up to me. Yeah, so if there's any parents watching this, you know, and you see your kids struggling like that, maybe try to help them out. They're not lazy just because they're mentally exhausted. If they could do it, they would. And just because they don't do it doesn't mean they're lazy, you know? Like, if you see them physically struggling, like, they can't shower every day, they can't do just the bare minimum of their hygiene stuff, then they might need help. And just because they need help doesn't mean that they're becoming very dependent. No. This should be something... What the hell am I doing? This should be something that you as a parent should do for your child. And not everything needs to be punished just because they're asking you for help. And that's kind of why I have, to this day, I struggle with asking for help. Because I'm afraid that they're just gonna be like, oh, aren't you a grown-ass adult? Why can't you do this? Like, you know, as a kid you're told, aren't you a big kid now? Can't you do this? Like, for me it was like getting my shoes tied, or like getting help with homework or stuff like that. I don't know. Or, you know, helping with my room, like cleaning it. It just kind of sucked. Because it felt like it was all up to me and I couldn't really rely on anybody for support. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, I guess my mental health to this day. To this day, I say that I'm better, especially because oops. I was so lucky there. Especially because, when I started high school, which was... Oh, I didn't even talk about during quarantine. Okay, let me get to that first, and then I'll go back to that. So, quarantine. Quarantine was during my senior year to my first year of college? No. Maybe a little bit after my first year of college. So, you know, me being a senior, I didn't get the regular stuff that a senior would if they were graduating high school. Instead of like a normal graduation, we got a car parade. We didn't get a prom. We didn't get all the normal... Okay. We didn't get all the normal stuff. Oh wait, I think it's this way. Yeah, we didn't get any of the normal stuff a senior would. So basically it was just, we had one normal day of regular school, and as soon as we knew it, we were in college. It's like, there was no transition to where we knew, okay, we're done with high school, and now we're off to college. No, it was like the same virtual classes and shit, so it never really felt like I graduated college or high school. Sorry, high school. And I think that really affected me mentally because and I struggled a lot with my classes because they were virtual. I mean, I'm still doing virtual learning because I don't really feel like going back to campus school. It's just not something that I want to do. But yeah, it was like my mental health started deteriorating more and more because of that, because I never went out due to the quarantine. Something happened. I'm not gonna get into the details of it, but something happened that made my close family like get torn apart for a little bit. Just there was a lot that just made me become worse and worse to the point where I was almost at my breaking point. And that was the time when I told my mom that I was struggling. That's the only time I've ever told my mom that I was struggling. Because I was like so close to the edge, because I never so when it comes to depression, I never have wanted to actually off myself. It's just a bunch of thoughts that I shouldn't be around anymore. That it would be better off without me. And I just felt trapped because there was nowhere for me to go. I was just left there rotting in my room. And that was the only time I was able to ask for help. And after that, it did get better because I started going on anxiety and depression medicine. I started with Zoloft, and I could really see a difference. I could really feel my energy starting to come back. I felt happier, and it was the best I felt for a while, but then it stopped working, so I had to go on Lexapro, and that was the one that actually was helping a lot. And yeah, just getting that small taste of feeling better led me to be more independent about my mental health, and I got a therapist a couple months ago. She's an online therapist. And yeah, if you I don't know if it's gonna be the same for you guys, but if you're looking for a therapist, I say Psychology Today is a good place. I know that for me, it was she was the first one I contacted, and she was the one. For others, you may have to contact a couple of therapists and see if they're a good fit for you. This process, it's not gonna be something that you find a therapist and you're immediately better. It's the same with medication too. Medication, it might not be the first medication that you take that'll help you feel better, but there is going to be one eventually that you'll find, and you'll realize that it's helping you a lot. So one thing is just not to give up, because a lot of people, they say that the medicine and stuff sometimes won't work, or you'll never find a good therapist because there's a lot of them that doesn't really know what they're doing. But in reality, there is always going to be someone that's going to be a good fit for you, or something that's going to be a good fit for you, because we're all different. I love how I'm just casually walking around because I have no and I guess that kind of goes the same with your dating life too, that there's always going to be someone that's going to be a good fit for you, and you just got to keep going, because if you give up, then nothing good's going to come out of it, so you may as well just keep trying. I think that's a good place to leave it, really. Because if you think I'm a good fit for your entertainment, maybe you should hit the sub button and the like button. I think that's it for me, right? I'm thinking... Oh yeah. No, I kind of already went through my present stuff, so yeah, I guess that's it for me, guys. I'm just gonna go to this village really quick, and then we'll end it there, because I think there's a bunch of things still following me. Yeah. That was close. Alright guys, I'm gonna end it here. I'll see you guys in the next one, whenever I decide what I'm gonna talk about next. Bye! Have a good one. Goodbye. Goodbye.